Apple, meanwhile, hitting an all-time high. Let's bring in Deutsche Bank Apple analyst Jeriel Ong. Jeriel, the reason why it's hitting an all-time high, arguably not just services, it's just as much the outperformance on the iPhone side, but how closely are you watching the progress of TV Plus in particular, and how are you adding it into your model as far as the upside for Apple?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So Apple TV Plus is certainly something closely followed over this past, that I'll closely follow over this past weekend. I haven't had access to the shows early, obviously, because I'm not a media personnel. But you know, it all depends on if there's a tentpole TV show that kind of launches a lot of interest in the next 6 months. I think near term, in terms of revenue, because it's offered for free to anybody who buys a new iOS device, really, it's tough to discern any immediate revenue impact. I think beyond the next 12 months, there could be anywhere from $1 to $3 billion revenue impact annually, depending on the amount of users who actually do pay for it beyond the free trial. So it kind of depends on the initial uptake, and I'll be monitoring that closely in the near term.
How much do reviews matter? Because the Joker movie got some pretty bad reviews, but turned out to be a huge blockbuster. Could the same be true of Apple? And what do you want to hear from the company as far as metrics on viewership? Do you think they'll give them to you?
Yeah, it's a good. So on the topic of reviews, I think they do matter in the near term, especially Apple's install base, which tends to skew more educated and wealthier, and people tend to read things before they decide to consume them. But in the long term, it's all about the quality of the content, right? Even if the reviews aren't good, people ultimately decide for themselves whether they want to continue to consume the content beyond the first 1 to 3 episodes that they watch. In terms of the metrics that we'd like them to disclose, I think they probably will disclose some sort of subscriber count, but the key thing to track will actually be what percentage of subscribers are paying versus what percentage of subscribers are currently on the free trial, and tracking that as it trends over time, and specifically as we get closer to that 1-year mark for the free trial.
Is it possible to start to model in the impact of streaming, especially if there's a hit on iPhone?
It certainly is possible, but the problem is that the services line itself is a number that's approaching $50 billion. Even if you get to, call it, 100 million subscribers in 5+ years, it's really not going to be a material portion of Apple's services business, or a material portion of the total revenues for Apple, which kind of approach the $300 billion in the next couple years. So it is something that I will be paying attention to and modeling closely and following closely. But the success, because Apple is so large, is difficult to determine.
One of their shows is called C. We'll see. Jeriel Ong from Deutsche Bank. Thanks.